The Disney Princess Formula. It's an idea that dates back to the original Disney princess, Snow White, because no duh. It's a formula that states that you have a character that longs for more than what she currently has. Someone to take her away from her abusive situation. Someone to take her away from her abusive situation. To find love. Pass. Wants to be where the people are. Wants more than this prudential life. Wants to make her own life choices. You again. Let me think. Moving on. Not a princess. Okay, fine. Same as Jasmine. As princess as this thing is a roller coaster. They are not. Right, fine, same as Jasmine. Jeez, Disney got stuck in a rut with the same kind of wants at this point. Wants to make her father's dream a reality. Not really a personal dream, now is it? Oh boy. Wants to save her kingdom? Does he even have a kingdom? Do I need to read the book series to understand her? Wants to live beyond her tower and watch floating lanterns. See Jasmine. Wants human interaction. Wait, she has servants, people outside of the castle to talk to. That was represented in the first time in forever. How does she not have any friends? No! Go away! I'm done with you! The Little Mermaid but wants to go into the sea. Longs to kill people in a violent video game. So all of these, most of these princesses long for something more. Now I bring this up because there is one person in the cable industry that has the same kind of longing. Someone who was not satisfied with the limitations of broadcast television. That person was Ted Turner. Today we are going to look at a cartoon block on a cable station that started out as an average syndicated block on a local network television station to become one of the linchpins for some of the biggest cartoon creators in animation history. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, hello friends. My name is Toonamp and we're continuing the history of cable television cartoon blocks with TBS Toons, because the block doesn't have a decent name to go by outside of the disaster area. As this is a video about TBS's cartoon blocks, I'm going to do a Cliff Note version of TBS's history. TBS started as UHF Channel 17 WJRJ TV on September 1st, 1967 in Atlanta, Georgia. The station was founded by Rice Broadcasting Incorporated. The station was independent and had a very small budget, so it aired mostly reruns. Ted Turner was running his late father's billboard advertising business and was starting to expand into broadcast radio. In July of 1969, Ted Turner's company, Turner's Communication Corporation, merged with Rice Broadcasting through an all-stock transaction. January 1970, Turner received approval for his purchase of WJRJ TV and changed the call letters to WTCG, or We're Turner Communications Group. Early programming included older movies, reruns of sitcoms, and anime like Astro Boy, Kimba the White Lion, Speed Racer, and Ultraman, and of course local sports from basketball, baseball, hockey, and Georgia Championship Wrestling, what would become WCW. December 1975, Turner announced that he would distribute WTCG through satellite to extend distribution of the station's programming to cable and C-band satellite. December 17, 1976, WTCG became America's first superstation. May 1979, Turner donates $25,000 to MIT to fund the construction of a new transmitter in exchange for acquiring the TBS call letters the university's Cambridge-based studio radio station has been assigned. August 27, 1979, WTCG changed its call letters to WTBS, or Turner Broadcasting System. September 7, 1987, the W from WTBS call sign was dropped from the superstation's on-air branding, now simply called Superstation TBS. September 10th, 1990, TBS dropped the Superstation moniker altogether and would only now be known as TBS. You see, Turner is like a Disney princess, always wanting more, not being satisfied with the limitations of independent networks. He grew that network into an empire, and soon that network started to produce original content, including animated series. Let's begin. Now, TBS was not known for their children's entertainment in the mid-80s. They were more known for their movies and Perry Mason reruns. While we did have some reruns of cartoons, it wasn't much. However, one of the biggest changes was about to happen. In the mid-80s, Ted Turner purchased a little-known company called MGM. Well, he purchased MGM's library and the such. This included the animated shorts. It is important to note that a lot of people's exposure to Tom and Jerry at the time was only on Saturday mornings, The Tom and Jerry Show, which the less said about that, the better, and those shorts that are public domain. So the characters were well known, but there's a lot of cartoon shorts out there from MGM that really hadn't had much exposure. Mainly the cartoons that featured George and Jr. and Screwy Squirrel. Turner kind of turned these two characters into household names. Although, it did help that Cartoon Network dedicated an entire April Fool's Day to a showing of one, and I mean one, including during Toonami, Screwy Squirrel cartoon. Oh, day. So yeah, technically Screwball Squirrel can be considered a Toonami character now. Have fun with that one. Anyway, thanks to Turner's purchase of MGM in 1985, where he holds MGM's film library up to that point, Turner decided to incorporate these cartoons into a 90-minute block. Thus was the creation of Tom and Jerry's Superstation Funhouse, a block that not only showed classic MGM cartoons, but also public domain Looney Tunes and Popeye shorts. It also aired the Pink Panther shorts as well as Little Rascals and Three Stooges shorts. TBS also played a few other series around Tom and Jerry's Funhouse, like The Alvin Show and The Flintstones, which makes me wonder if TBS was like WGM at the time, where they could still purchase syndicated cartoon packages for their lineup, since technically they were still a broadcast network, which would make sense when I talk about the next three series.
Superstation Funhouse returns at 3:05 Eastern this afternoon.
Now, to say Turner is ambitious is an understatement. Turner is an environmentalist. He had devoted time and money into many causes. Causes that he believed in and he was passionate about. Unlike most celebrities, studios, and companies that support causes and charity work just to make themselves look good. Sorry, Stephanie, I cannot unsee this. Like I said, Turner is very passionate about the causes he supports, especially the environment and saving the planet, to the point where he made an animated series about it. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was created in 1989 by Ted Turner and Barbara Pyle. The goal was to educate kids and their parents with a cartoon about protecting nature and the environment. And the cartoon was a success, lasting 6 seasons, airing from 1990 to 1996. The hero of the cartoon, Captain Planet, became a household name, and that's thanks to the part that Turner syndicated the series, so it not only played on TBS, but also aired on local broadcast TV stations. The more exposure the series got, the more popular the characters and the message the show gave became. That was a brilliant move by Turner. Yeah, sure, the Planeteers were, how to put this where I don't get torn apart? They were dorks! Yeah, I said it! Please don't hurt me. So yeah, the Planeteers were kind of lame, but the show really did hook you in, and it seemed like no topic was untouchable, ranging from pollution to racism to AIDS to overpopulation. Add in an intriguing rogues gallery, which includes Hoggish Greedley, Dr. Blight, and Verminous Scum, and you got a decent show. And Captain Planet isn't bad himself. Sure, he's a MacGuffin that saves the day in the end of every episode, but he does have weaknesses, and he is a last resort for the Planeteers. I mean, the goal does seem to be that the kids need to do these things on their own without the help of Captain Planet, unless they really need him. We also had to talk about the all-star cast that stuck around for one season. While Ed Asner, Tim Curry, and LeVar Burton stuck around for the whole series, celebrities like Whoopi Goldberg, Jeff Goldblum, Dean Stockwell, Meg Ryan, Martin Sheen, Sting, and others would last only 1 or 2 seasons. If I had to guess, I would say budget cuts would be the cause of this. They got replacements for these actors.
Excellent. Soon we'll see if those stupid humans have enough sense to come in out of the acid rain.
Finally, you punketeers are just where I want you.
Sorry to disappoint you, but you'll have to settle for the Queen of Evil.
I have a formula for refining weapons-grade nuclear material. Right you are, my Planeteers. To the crystal chamber at once.
The missing plutonium poses not only a threat of nuclear terrorism, but the risk of environmental contamination that would make the Chernobyl disaster look minor.
Yep, they sure got replacements. As for the music, while the opening theme got you hyped for the series, it was the ending theme that you remembered.
Captain Planet, he's our hero, gonna take pollution down to zero.
Up until the New Adventures of Captain Planet came out. Then the opening theme song was remembered for different reasons.
Captain Planet, he's the man, leading the charge, Earth's #1 fan. Check him out, you're gonna see, he's the Mega Mac Daddy of ecology.
I have to be honest with myself. I like the B-52s well enough, but Love Shack is memorable because it was silly and fun, not because it was great. It's like popular YouTube videos. Sure, they have the views, but why do they have the views? Anyway, Captain Planet was one of those shows that was done really well, and it took risks. It didn't dumb down the subject matter, despite Mati, and Turner was passionate about this project, to the point where he still talks about how important Captain Planet is to this day. Could the show be rebooted? Yeah, but the series from the 90s wouldn't work today. It would have to have a different type of animation. Look up DHX's new Carmen Sandiego series. And the Planeteers have to have better personalities. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was fine for the early 90s, and that year it was on Kids WB to appease the FCC EI mandate, but it definitely needs an update for today's generation. Just as long as it doesn't end up like Netflix's tragic school bus. There was no winner in that bloodbath.
We are all products of the world around us.
Teachers, friends, TV shows, and especially our parents all make strong impressions on our minds.
It is up to all of us to put our differences aside and learn to communicate.
Everyone appreciates respect and kindness. The power is yours!
The domino effect is an amazing thing, especially when it comes to animation. You see, a lot of people who worked on this next cartoon are currently well known for their cartoons that came along afterwards. You have people like Craig McCracken, who worked on the Powerpuff Girls, Gendy Tartakovsky, who worked on Dexter's Laboratory, Seth MacFarlane, creator of The Family Guy, and Butch Hartman and his Fairly Odd Parents. You have so many people who made their names for themselves in the cartoon industry, and one of their earliest works was this cartoon, 2 Stupid Dogs, a series created by Donovan Cook and art directed by Craig McCracken and Gendy Tartakovsky. Is this such an unusual show for Hanna-Barbera to produce? Have you seen their track record? This was a show that marked the beginnings of the Fred Seibert era for Hanna-Barbera, focusing more on creator-driven series for Hanna-Barbera instead of turning classic characters to kids, copying Smurfs, or making animated series based off of movies. Most of those, if not all, failed. That has got to be hard on Hanna-Barbera since they once ruled Saturday mornings in the 60s and 70s. But suddenly, the 80s weren't being kind to them. So along came Seibert and everything changed. While not everything was a hit afterwards, Hanna-Barbera entered a new golden age up until the studio became Cartoon Network Studios. And it all started with the Cal Arts alumni and his cartoon called 2 Stupid Dogs. The premise is simple. You have 2 dogs, one big dog and one little dog, who aren't that bright. You put them in situations and they try to figure out how to get out of that situation. Since they're dumb, hilarity ensues. The big dog is stoic and might be a little smarter than the little dog, but the little dog has a big mouth and is a little more energetic. Honestly, the 2 characters complement each other. You have other characters like Mr. Hollywood, Little Red Riding Hood, and that kid in the short shorts, Kenny Fowler. You also have a reboot of Secret Squirrel, which kind of shows up out of nowhere. Granted, I do appreciate that Hanna-Barbera tries to dust up some of its less familiar characters. Apparently this threw off a couple of people as they thought that the 2 Stupid Dog cartoon was over when Secret Squirrel started to air, forgetting that this is a 3 cartoon and episode series. Secret Squirrel is about the secret agent named Secret Squirrel and his sidekick Morocco Mole. Seriously, Hanna-Barbera, if it isn't names that rhyme with each other, it's alliterations. Unlike the original Secret Squirrel cartoon, this newer version of Secret Squirrel solves crimes in the animal world, where the original solves crime in the human world. One might notice that they decided to solve kind of a big issue with the original Secret Squirrel. He no longer opens his trench coat to get a device accidentally flashing the audience. Yeah, I do realize that this was brought up in Harvey Birdman, but I wanted to make sure that he didn't do it in this version of the series. Although, there are other animals that don't wear pants or skirts in this series. Looking at you, Maraca Mole! Two Stupid Dogs had new episodes for 2 seasons, with only the first season airing the Secret Squirrel cartoon. Like Captain Planet, Two Stupid Dogs also had a syndicated package, and many people considered the series part of the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera. A syndicated package that also aired this next cartoon. To say the 1980s was hard on Hanna-Barbera is an understatement. The studio was hard-pressed to actually have a cartoon that really became popular. While there were original ideas and concepts beyond Kid Boots, shows like Pirates of Dark Water, none of them really did all that well. And that's thanks to Disney, Warner Brothers, and a whole slew of new animation companies stepping up their game. So in 1993, alongside Two Stupid Dogs, Hanna-Barbera unleashed another, more serious, action-oriented cartoon. That series was SWAT Cats, the Radical Squadron, a creation of Christian and Yvonne Tremblay. Hanna-Barbera has been trying to up their animation game for a little bit beforehand with shows like Pirates of Dark Water. However, again, Pirates of Dark Water didn't really take off all that well, ending the show in a cliffhanger. But Hanna-Barbera's animation was indeed improving. We started to see that with the more cartoony style of a pup named Scooby-Doo, a style that would continue on with shows like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs. Thank you, Tom Ruger. And while some of the new shows that Hanna-Barbera was producing stayed true to the original limited style, that cannot be said for SWAT Cats. Oh my lord, this is an amazing looking show! If it wasn't for the fact it said Hanna-Barbera right at the beginning, you wouldn't even suspect that this was a Hanna-Barbera show. Just look at how the Turbo Cat is animated. Even shows like Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and DuckTales. I don't think I've ever seen a dogfight so well animated in Western cartoons for television. And that's thanks to Hanna-Barbera outsourcing some of the animation to overseas studios like Mook Animation. The story goes that Chance and Jake are 2 junkyard cats trying to earn a living after they got kicked out of the Mega Cat police force. In reality, they are Mega Cat City's secret defenders, T-Bone and Razor, the SWAT Cats. Battling monsters, mutants, dinosaurs, robots, all sorts of crazy things that happen in the city. And while the police force can't stop the monsters, the SWAT Cats can with their Turbo Cat jet and their Glovatrix. Every episode has high-octane excitement and became one of the best Hanna-Barbera cartoons. It got so popular that it got canceled after the 2nd season. Yeah, unfortunately Turner pulled the plug as he viewed the show as too violent. He pointed out to Congress that Cartoon Network had shows like Scooby-Doo, Jetsons, Flintstones, and Yogi Bear, and didn't need to do what other networks did with violent cartoons. This caused the delay of SWAT Cat toys, which many of you know is the lifeblood of action cartoons. Because of this, the series was canceled with 3 episodes left unfinished. And I have to say, Turner's got a point. The show is violent, but that is why we love it. Oh, and funny how 2 years later, Toonami came about, hosting some of the most violent shows on television at the time. And he did kind of greenlit The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, although it is debatable whether Toonami was a Turner idea or a Time Warner idea. Also, no, Powerpuff Girls wasn't a violent cartoon. It was at Turner's time when What a Cartoon was greenlit with the original Powerpuff short featuring a possible cannibalization of Fuzzy Lumpkins. SWAT Cats is an amazingly beautiful show. Yes, it's violent. Yes, it's defiant. And yes, it was a victim of politics. Like Captain Planet and Two Stupid Dogs, it was part of a syndicated package. It was one of, if not the best animated show, outside of The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, that Hanna-Barbera had ever produced before the studio became Cartoon Network Studios.
Those robots are still on our tail. Not for long.
Now, Turner was never afraid of showing compilation shows. This started all the way back with Tom and Jerry's Funhouse in the 1980s. TBS, TNT, and Cartoon Network all had them, but none of them really had a host. That is until the Moxie Pirates show started on Cartoon Network. Just a fun host segment in between cartoons. There is also Toonheads and the Tex Avery show. Eventually, there was also Rudy and Go-Go's world famous cartoon show. And finally, there's this show, the last show I'm going to talk about. Cartoon Planet on TBS. Cartoon Planet on TBS? Wait a minute! We thought that this was on Cartoon Network. If you thought that, you're half right. TBS started Cartoon Planet in the summer of 1995 on weekday afternoons. It starred Space Ghost, Brak, and Zorak from their classic Space Ghost cartoons and the popular Cartoon Network series Space Ghost Coast to Coast. A variety show of sorts involving singing and hopping and banter that could be passed off as witty. While we do love Space Ghost and Zorak, the breakout character here would be Brak. Just because he's so dumb and he whines so much, it's actually pretty cute, but pretty annoying. But you can't beat his songs and poems like I Love Beans, Beans and Frank Day, What Day Is It, and other fun little ditties. Brak was so popular that he got his own show on Adult Swim, not to mention 2 specials. Look at Zorak doing that DDP yoga. Like the show before it, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Cartoon Planet used recycled animation throughout most of the series, which was very limited. Sure, they used some of the new animation that was used for Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but it was still limited. But that also makes it endearing. Because of the animation's limits, they had to be a little bit more wittier with their dialogue. I'm saying wittier here, but maybe I should be saying sillier? With bits like Mailbag Day, Nuggets of Joy from Zorak, horoscopes, and other stuff. I mean, it captivated the audience, and it doesn't hurt that they showed fun cartoons in between segments. Later, Cartoon Planet jumped from TBS to Cartoon Network, where it stayed until it was fully canceled, and resurrected again in the 2010s. But at least TBS can proudly say they were part of building one of the biggest characters for Cartoon Network. I don't know if I'm being sarcastic about that or not.
Zorak, are my pants too tight?
I'd rather not say.
No, really. Are my pants too tight?
You're wearing boxer shorts with the words bottoms up printed on your rear, right?
Like with TNT, the writing was on the wall for TBS when Cartoon Network became very popular. Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Quest, and Cartoon Planet jumped ship. The final programming block that aired on TBS was the Disaster Area. While it did not have the charm of TNT Toons, the Disaster Area does have a following, although the commercials irritated the heck out of me. In the late 90s, there was no need for Turner to broadcast their children's shows on TNT and TBS. The tactics that Turner used worked. It got kids interested in Cartoon Network, and by the late 90s and early 2000s, the network became one of the biggest networks for kids in animation. Turner had a brilliant strategy getting people over to his networks. A strategy that unfortunately cannot be replicated nowadays. The rise and fall of Disney XD is an example of that. For all of those who fondly remember Cartoon Network at the time, you can thank TBS for being one of the blueprints that made Cartoon Network so successful. Oh yeah, that. How could I possibly forget Adult Swim 2? Honestly, it's too soon to talk about the impact TBS's adult cartoon block will have since it's not potty trained yet. It's a wait and see. I'm Toonamp. Thanks for watching. Also, if you thought I forgot about these, I didn't. The SWAT Cats Revolution Kickstarter was over in 2015, and I hope the series gets made. And the Captain Planet OKKO crossover was a thing, with 2 of the original voice actors returning. I can't add anything worthwhile to that. Plus, I wanted to see how many people would last until the end of the video before they commented that I missed this or that.
Okay, bye.